In 2013, one guy released his game after he spent 7 years crafting a revolutionary puzzle game that made millions of dollars and earning a 95% overwhelmingly positive status on Steam. In 2013, AAA studios dominated the scene, making it so much harder for indie developers at the time, but this solo developer dropped a game that changed the way I view games permanently. A game so unique and brilliant that it sold over 100,000 copies within the first 7 weeks after releasing, and when Steam had a fraction of today's users. How did he pull it off? What's the story behind this game? What did he do that was so different than other indie devs? And why is this game, in my opinion, one of the most underrated masterpieces on the platform? Let's dive into the incredible story behind this game. A game made by the underdog, Antichamber. Before we get into the incredible story of Antichamber, I want to thank today's sponsor real quick, which is Buildables. Check this out, I'm super stoked about this. This company named Buildables reached out to me and turned me into my very own Buildables figure. It's dope, it's me, look at me, I'm beautiful. You should buy it, it's in the description. It's only on sale for a couple weeks, very limited time. What happens is when you buy it, it comes with a box and the instructions on how to build me, the almighty Jeff, and then you can slap me into this case and then put me anywhere you want, probably on top of your computer or something. It would mean the world to me if you did this. It would go a very long way in helping me and support this channel because I don't do this full time. And so if you're liking this content, give it a little buy. Thank you, that is all. First things first, you might be wondering, what is Antichamber? Well, Antichamber is a mind-bending exploration game where you get thrown into new environments, solve simple and complex non-Euclidean puzzles, read quotes about life, and it feels like a dream to play. The first few minutes of playing, for me, felt like an acid trip, and others agree.
What the? Oh, I love it. I love this game already.
Especially when it came out 12 years ago. The game has revolutionary game mechanics never seen before in any game at the time. For example, the game can start off like this. Or this. It really is so mind-bending the first time playing it. And you want to know where these great mechanics came from? Snake. Friggin' Snake. That little Nokia brick game that there's a million versions of? Yeah. Snake. Meet Alexander Bruce, the developer of Antichamber. But also, real quick, meet me, Jeff. I'm Jeff, and I am also Jeff. And that is Cthulhu. Good to meet you. In 2006, Alexander was a student in Melbourne, Australia, studying computer science with hopes to break into the gaming industry. An important thing to remember about the game industry in 2006, video games were so much harder to make than they are today, especially if you're wanting to make a 3D game. 3D games these days are mostly made in game engines like Unity, Unreal Engine, or Godot. But in 2006, those didn't exist. Well, Unreal Engine and Unity did, but you could only use them if you were Jeffrey Bezos. The better Jeff. There wasn't really a 3D engine that was free for use, which is why I think modding games were so popular back then. In games like Counter-Strike, Garry's Mod, Diablo 2, or a game you young ones wouldn't know called Unreal Tournament 2004. And the reason I bring that up is because Alexander Bruce in 2006 was messing around with modding in Unreal Tournament 2004. His modding back then, he said, had to do with a lot of geometry in space, whatever that means. But where it really started was he was trying to remake Snake, and he explains that he had made a floor full of elevators that would fall whenever you stepped on them and then come up after a delay. This version of Snake was an abstract version and didn't captivate his interest very long, and he decided to keep pushing against the boundaries. He started making a mod called Hazard in Unreal Tournament 2004, where he experimented with weapons and how they reacted to geometry in various ways. He explained that he had an idea for an arena combat game based on expanding the mechanics of the game Snake into a multiplayer experience. But then later explains in his game development conference talk after the game released that when he tried throwing it into a network, things went south because he wasn't a network developer.
Hazard. But when I tried to run this across a network, way too much stuff was going on, and I was not a network program at the time, so I put it down.
In 2007, he realized that his project got way too out of scope and he trashed the Snake project, and then tried working on a smaller project where he was trying to remake the game Asteroids in 3D. He says there, "I immediately had the problem of going out of one side of the screen and coming in the other. That gave me the infinite 3D world," he says. But again, I couldn't do much with the prototype at the time. These experiments didn't do much for him, but it did help him land his first job working for a game studio in 2007, where he was hired to work on the Epic Games' Unreal Engine 3. In 2008, he renamed the mod Hazard to Hazard: The Journey of Life, a philosophical game that he explained was an art piece just for him, which the game started with a lot of his prototypes that he was messing around with in 2006 and 2007. Around that same time, Epic Games hosted one of their game festivals called Make Something Unreal 3, where you make a mod for Unreal Tournament 3, and there was $1 million worth of prize money for people who created mods. So he thought to himself, how cool would it be if I did get some recognition for my silly little game Hazard: The Journey of Life? So he grinded out his game and released it at the end of the year in hopes to surprise people. And guess what? He did. He submitted it to Make Something Unreal 3 and won $25,000 of prize money and invested it back into making this game. This is where things get crazy. The year 2025 game development is just freaking easy compared to back then. Now we have asset packs, free engines, unlimited resources, crazy documentation. It's seriously amazing. In 2008, things were not simple for game development. The crazy thing is, he made this game as a mod in Unreal Tournament 3 because there was still no accessible game development software that was good for 3D. This freaking guy worked on this mod, grinded it out, and impressed people all over. But in 2008, what he created seemed to have been nothing compared to what AAA companies have been making. Once he finished up this mod as much as he could, he submitted it into a bunch of festivals, including one called Sense of Wonder Night. Sense of Wonder Night was a competition where developers would submit their games that they thought were innovative and experimental and would bring a sense of wonder. If you submitted your game to this festival, they would hand-pick which games were good enough to show off, and they would show them off in frickin' Tokyo. How sick is that? And he won!
Journey of Life by Mr. Alexander Bruce from Australia.
And you want to know who was speaking in Tokyo at 2009? Mike Capps! Mike frickin' Capps, back in the day, the president of Epic Games. And I guess at the end of Mike Capps presenting at this festival, Alexander Bruce, this frickin' guy, hands him a business card, and Alexander says, "Hello, here's my business card. My name is Alexander. Question for ya. I'm an indie dev. Do you have any way that I can break into the game industry by any chance?" And Mike Capps, the president of one of the biggest gaming companies in the world of all time, he said, "Yeah, dude, actually there's this thing that we're dropping really soon called Unreal Development Kit. It's not out yet. We haven't really announced it or anything, but it's Unreal Engine 3, and it's going to be free for community use. I'll give you this guy's information. They're in charge of the project, and then we'll just get you Unreal Developer Kit. How does that sound?" The reason that's a big deal is because a license for Unreal Engine 3 ranged between $350,000 to $1.5 million. Can you imagine going up to the president of a massive tech company and they just hand you a product that is worth $350,000 to $1 million just because you asked? That's insane. I understand that they were planning on releasing this product for free, but I can't imagine the emotions an indie game dev would feel having that happen to you. He got to test Unreal Development Kit before like anybody else in the public just because he asked, man. And so when he got his hands on Unreal Engine 3, that's where the real grind started. he was like, you know what, I'm gonna make this an actual game and try to sell it, not just a mod. So in 2010, Hazard: The Journey of Life was in a good spot, but not a great spot. A game that started with concepts and experiments, and as a mod, started to turn into a legit game back in the day. In 2010, Alexander worked hard on this game, like really hard.
I wanted to see what I was capable of.
Like, he quit his job hard. Like, he would stay up till super late, not get any sleep, wake up, keep grinding all day, not talk to anybody, grind hard. He wouldn't get enough rest, so his body got sick naturally hard. It seemed like to me, he would submit his game to every festival that he saw. And at those festivals, he tried his absolute hardest to stand out. He dyed his own suit pink. He'd wear that pink suit to those festivals just so that if they don't remember the game, they'll remember him, because he just wanted people to remember something about him. In 2011, he started getting more and more attention for this game. But what he kept hearing was, you need to change the name, because Hazard: The Journey of Life just doesn't make sense with the gameplay. And what I respect about him is he listened to those people and changed the name from Hazard: The Journey of Life to Antichamber. And then he was ready to start getting real attention. And he did. He had people writing articles on it. People were saying it was their favorite part of the festival PAX 10, which was a really big deal because PAX 10 was a massive game festival. And it's also a big deal because even Notch, the creator of Minecraft, played this game at PAX 10 and said that he really enjoyed it as well. After entering into so many festivals, his game did get nominated to win an award at IGF, which is probably the most prominent and respected indie game festival at the time, and I think still is, which that nomination got his hopes up to win. And in 2011, it didn't win anything, which shot his mental health. In 2012, the game was in good shape, but he says he was running out of money, his mental health was getting shot, and he had an overwhelming amount of stress about this game. He had such high expectations, and him potentially screwing something up or under-delivering would make it so that this game wouldn't perform, and he'd have so many years of hard work completely wasted. But then, after a year of working once again, and him being really discouraged, his game did get nominated again at IGF, and something that he didn't expect was it won an award for technical excellence. The interesting thing though is that he says that he was not excited at all to win that award because of what it would do to his mental health. But in 2012, he said to himself, you know what, I just need to get this game done. At this point, let's just ship it off. I gotta move on with my life. Thankfully, after so many years of working on this, he had a huge network with people that were extremely experienced in this industry. He got that network not because he was lucky, but because he went up and introduced himself to people, like he did with Mike Caps. He ended up getting a ton of advice from people. He wanted to release at the end of 2012, but people said that would be a bad time to release it. You should wait till January 31st. So he hired some people to make a cinematic game trailer for him, got it up on YouTube, numbers pushed out like crazy, and he released the game in January 31st of 2013 with an insanely successful launch. And do you want to know who bought this game 3 days after launching? Me. It was my third game in my Steam library, and it was one of the most fascinating games I've ever played. I absolutely loved it, especially as a massive Portal fan, and it truly did change the way I viewed games, because this game was like a game I've never played before in my life. I've never seen game mechanics like this. You go down a staircase and you end up at the same spot. It blew my mind. I know we were simple back then, but it was amazing. To me, it was truly revolutionary. It felt like whoever was behind this game thought of a brand new color and just presented it to me. The thing that I really want to talk about here, now that we got the backstory of where Antichamber came from, and it doesn't just apply to game dev, it applies to everything. After his game sold so well, he was invited to talk at a game development conference. And he gave 2 talks at this conference. In the beginning of one of them, he talks about his philosophy on luck. When people make an extremely successful game, there's tons of people in the development world that will say, "Ah man, that guy got so lucky. Schedule 1 wouldn't have blown up overnight if yada yada yada," or Lethal Company wouldn't have been such a successful game if blah blah blah. Yes, Schedule 1 might have been lucky, or Lethal Company might have been lucky, or heck, even Antichamber might have been lucky. But his thought process going into this was he wanted to take the idea of luck completely out of it as much as he can and try to bridge the gap between skill and luck. He did every single thing in his power to make sure that when his game was launched, it would be successful and not because of luck. The things that we missed when playing this game were all of the late nights he spent developing, all the conferences he went to, the people he talked to about how to properly market and launch the game, etc. It took up his entire life at one point. All of his energy went fully into this game. And at the end of his talk at the Game Development Conference, he says that this game absolutely wrecked him, but sometimes that just might be what it takes to bridge the gap between skill and luck. And you could see that he put so much into it because of his emotions at this talk. Throughout his talk at the Game Development Conference, he also keeps mentioning over and over what makes him different from other developers that had huge success stories and innovated the game market by making something insanely creative. What makes them better than him? At the end of his journey through making this game, I'd say he learned one of the most valuable lessons in our journey in life. And that is, what separates you from other successful people? Nothing. Nothing makes Alexander Bruce more different than you and I when it comes to the professional world. He was into game development and he was asking himself, what makes these insane professionals different than me? The difference is, they were willing to put in the time and grit. It's not like anybody out there is really some superhuman. You can do anything. If we bridge the gap between luck and skill as much as possible, never setting low expectations for us, stretching ourselves, and going out of our comfort zones, we can achieve our dreams as well, even if it does wreck us. So if you have a dream, go out there and do hard things because you can do it. Also, do you want to know how this video even started? I had this idea and I DM'd Alexander Bruce on Twitter, and my gosh, just like Mike Capps replied to him back in the day, he replied to me. So I would like to thank Alexander Bruce for making this game and giving such insightful comments to help me in my creative journey. And I would love to help you in your creative journey. Go out and do.